special guest. We have Benjamin Watts with us, or otherwise known as Caveat Magister.
So I've been asked to say a few words about psychomagic. Let's first start by just talking about what psychomagic is in the first place. Psychomagic as a term was coined by Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Welcome to Shade Dreams.
So our first episode is brought to you by Shane, where we'll be discussing 3 different topics and sharing our thoughts and opinions and different beliefs on all the topics. So Shane, take it away.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks for being here, everyone. Jumping right into the first topic here. This is obviously a lot of the topics are going to be based on Caveat Magister's novel, which we had to read in class. And the parts that I read that really resonated with me really involved the subconscious and the way that it kind of controls our decisions. So the first topic I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on is in the book he talks about a story where he's being lost in a park that he went to with his friends, and in an effort to locate him, they began singing a song that they knew he was familiar with and had sung previously that week. And the author described himself as being uncontrollably compelled to follow the music, even though he was enjoying his peaceful stroll through the park. So he didn't really want to go follow the music because he was enjoying what he was doing, but he couldn't control himself. So the first question I wanted to ask was, do you guys believe that there is like a subconscious agenda within us that controls some of our compulsions towards the world?
Yes, I absolutely think so. The example that I immediately think of, and we talked about this in second year, I remember made one of my housemates very, very angry. But it was a study done by scientists about the idea of free will. I forget if they were asking the patient left or right, or up or down, or red or blue. It was effectively a choice of two things. And the scientists monitored the brain activities. And before the person could even consciously decide the two, the scientists could already read their brain and tell which one. Effectively implying that their brain had just kind of subconsciously decided before they even realized what they decided to do. It's an argument commonly shown against having at least conscious free will. And though it isn't exactly this, it was enough like this that I believe we often make decisions before we even realize we're making them, and we'll do things before we realize. So I think we're just led by our subconscious.
I agree. I think that we definitely have like an internal subconscious, which we almost don't have a control over. But I also sort of question whether our subconscious is almost trained by like habit and routine, or if it's even deeper rooted to a point like we don't even understand it. But yeah, I had actually a few examples of ones that are sort of about that uncontrolled subconscious. So Freudian slips are sort of something that just comes up. You don't really feel like you have control over it, but maybe it has to do with habit or routine. Dreams, shout out to shared dreams. So that obviously reveals subconscious desires in a lot of ways, and really you can't have no control over it. And then obviously just habits and patterns, and then emotions and physical sensations. A lot of even like sexual sensations you don't really have control over. And then emotions. Sometimes you cry, you have no clue why you cry. So yeah, I do agree that there is that deeper rooted subconscious that you have no control over. But I do think that habit and also plays a role in some of it.
Where do you put like addiction and stuff like that? I'm thinking like within that, like some people go do heroin, and at this point they're already addicted to heroin.
Yeah,
But like they're pretty conscious of the idea that they're doing heroin.
I think, like Hunter mentioned, and something that I was thinking about beforehand as well, is that I think our subconscious is really shaped based on our environment throughout our lives. So I think addiction plays a role into that, where if you were brought up in a way and all of your life experiences led to a certain point where you were susceptible to addiction, and then obviously began, let's say, abusing a certain substance, I think at that point, yeah, it's almost your subconscious is wired to be addicted to certain things in a way that you can't control. And I think it stems all the way back to the day we're born and every experience we encounter.
So yes.
So yeah,
I feel like addiction is a subconscious. Like someone isn't consciously subconscious.
Yeah, well,
the first choice I feel can be is a conscious decision in a lot of cases.
Of course, yeah.
But I do agree that when it gets to a point where it's just your routine, your life, and you don't even realize you're doing it.
So get dopamine.
Like once you start craving it, then it's kind of like I feel like a subconscious act that's like, this feels good. I need to like
Yeah.
You know,
Even though you're aware that it's at a certain point it is bad for you,
Yeah.
you're compelled to continue taking drugs.
I think so.
You can't control it.
Yeah.
I agree. Nathan, you got any other additional thoughts?
No, for me, I think you guys covered pretty well. I think it's very habit driven, routine driven. I know Shane mentioned the idea that like you don't leave your house without specific items. I think that's a good example of like your routine. Like you're always checking your phone, your wallet, and stuff. It's just like
don't even think about it.
it's
I
not a
bring my
reminder.
AirPods.
Exactly.
I bring my AirPods with me. I might use my AirPods
Yeah.
on a
Subconsciously,
on a night out to the
Exactly.
bars. I might.
Yeah.
I
Bringing
don't
to
bring
the
my
bars is
AirPods in
crazy.
You bring your AirPods to
every
bars?
single time.
That's
I do not.
crazy.
I do not
Why?
leave my house without my
Cool, off
phone.
topic, but why?
I need to. It's
Oh.
it's like every time I leave the house, I have a wallet, a
Subconsciously,
phone,
yeah.
AirPods, my keys.
Yeah, that's actually a good example.
And I
But
do not leave one of those.
I wrote about like I would like literally grab my phone, keys, wallet, whatever, and 10 seconds before, and then I'll walk out the door and do the
And
old
check
like
to make
pocket
sure.
check. Like,
And it's always. A
I know I
pocket check.
have them. Like
But
I just grabbed them.
See, but I count to 5. It's just 1, 2. I don't even have. I will never even have something else in my pocket. Like I have 5 things in my pocket.
Oh,
those are the 5
But you
things in my
use
pocket.
numbers. Like
I
you're
use
like
numbers.
I count
It is
the
1,
numbers.
2, 3, 4, 5.
And
I know where-
you don't go like keys,
And
phone,
they're,
wallet.
and they're always in the same pocket. Like my
I do that
phone and
too.
keys are always on the left. My
Yeah.
wallet's always my wallet
I
and
always
AirPods to
do
the
that.
right. Like it's the
Yeah.
exact same pockets every single time. 1, 2, 3.
I think another good example, just quickly, is locking your car. Like I'll lock my car 5 times and I'll forget I did it, and then I'll be like, I have to go
Oh, I
back
gotta
and
lock
check.
my
So it's
car,
like you're just like
Yeah.
routine. So your
Subconscious
subconscious
habits,
is like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a habit to lock your car, but you don't really like feel present.
Like things like that, you can't tell me that those are active, conscious decisions.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No.
Anyways,
topic 2.
well, yeah, those were some great responses, guys. Thanks for that. I think those were really interesting perspectives on the questions. Moving on a bit, so this is still to do with compulsions, but this is now looking at it in a VR setting. So relating to what we discussed previously, do you think that these compulsions changed based on the environment that you find yourself in? So, for example, in a virtual setting where accountability is effectively non-existent, do you think your subconscious would then drive you to make different decisions and manifest different compulsions?
I can start if you guys want,
Just go
but
for
I
it.
think 100% agree with that. That your subconsciousness in a virtual setting is driven by the idea that like you're not being watched, if you will. So like I think there's a sense of, I think people feel a sense of freedom almost, like that they're not constantly being watched, so they can do other things. And I think in different environments, it definitely shows like what people's ideas and true intentions are. And yeah,
So I'll go yes and no on true intentions. I mean, depending on the level of which we're going into VR augmented.
Right.
You know, if you go and put me in Grand Theft Auto 5, then yeah, I'm gonna go shoot people in the streets because it's funny, whatever. But if you put me into like a perfectly lifelike,
But it doesn't reflect your truth.
but I guess what I mean is if you put me in Westworld, I think I would have a lot more trouble going and just choking a person with my own hands. Like that isn't something I think I would go and do. So I think there is a level to which it's like there's a level of fakeness in a lot of it that I think can kind of make it fun. You know, like you play Mario,
Well, okay,
and you
so-
step on a turtle.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't have this
Then
desire to step on fucking turtles.
I have a follow up for you on that. If you were placed in a perfectly real, VR world like Westworld, which for context is a show where basically guests of this park are placed into a completely real world where they can do whatever they want. Do you think you would behave any differently at all, or would you be the exact same person you are, knowing that none of it is real, but it feels about as real as it is?
Well, I think you kind of get to be a superhero. Like there's a level
If you want, or you can be a villain.
well, fair enough. But like you are in some forms super. Like you have superior things, you have superior sway of conversation, things like that. So what I'd be more curious at is if you put me in my real life right now in a position where I had the most power out of anyone and had the most money, maybe I would act the exact same as I would in Westworld. Because in Westworld, you're just given more power than you have in real life. So if I had that much power in my real life, maybe I would be a shittier person. Who knows? If there were no laws to bound me, I have no idea. I'd like to think no, but
I agree. Like I think it's also scary with the like ever advancing like virtual reality and everything, that some people almost like they feel comfortable behind the screen, like they can do whatever they want, say whatever they want, and they're protected by that like virtual barrier. So I do feel that some people's intentions come out in video games. For example, if they got like mad in a game and said something, I believe those are their intentions, and they just feel comfortable behind the screen. But I was right in that I said I do have some faith in humanity that a lot of the things they do are like you Dolan said for the sake of the game, for the fun of the game. Like in Call of Duty, like you're shooting people, right? In the video game.
But I guess I'd add, if you put me in Vietnam and I was in, a position where there's a bunch of people coming to kill me, I'm probably going to kill them. I don't know if I'd act any differently than I do.
I think,
if I'm a soldier, if I in the game, I'm a soldier.
I think being placed in active war is like a little bit of a stretch.
No, but I'm saying in Call of Duty, you're placed in active war. So I don't know if would I act any different?
Yeah,
like in Call of Duty, I'm shooting people trying to kill me.
But I don't think that's connected with the video game. Like I feel like that's like just human nature, and whereas like it's not like because I played the video game.
But I also say, remember, in most video games, you're taking place of protagonist. So if you're playing GTA, you are a crime lord person. If I in real life was a crime lord, I probably would kill people. I'm not a crime lord, hence I don't. But that's
But would
point.
You kill people because of the video game or because you're a crime lord?
That's an interesting idea.
Maybe we should
pass
over this and go back on track.
Like,
I don't know.
I think the advancement of technology is blending the two, the sense of reality versus
Well, I heard a story of that. There was a kid that was pulled over, like a 12-year-old kid or something that was playing GTA and decided to steal his mom's car.
Yeah.
Crashed it into a telephone pole, and he said it was because he played GTA and he felt like he could drive a car.
Right, and how far will the technology advance to the point where you start to lose sight of what is your behavior in a virtual world versus what is your behavior in the real world?
Two people is
if you go into the virtual world thinking I'm going to behave differently, this isn't real, this doesn't matter. How much time do you have to spend in that environment for it to actually start to transition?
It's scary, especially when you start to lose track of what actually the reality is.
Deception. We don't have time for Inception.
Anyway, next topic. We're almost out of time, so quickly the last topic, which is kind of tying back this discussion back to sort of reality again. So in one of the David Chalmers readings that was assigned in the class, we looked at the different ways to define reality. And one of the explanations that resonated with me was reality as existence, which suggests that something is real and a part of reality if it actually exists. So this is similar to what we were kind of discussing before. So I'm wondering, if a virtual reality, our compulsions in a virtual reality are different, do those compulsions actually exist if the virtual reality doesn't?
So my stance after reading this very quickly became, if it is not your native reality, and that's something, it's advanced, like obviously we know GTA love you. Everyone knows that's not our native reality. Let's move forward a bunch of years to where it can get more difficult to tell. If it's not your native reality, you're not affecting anyone in your native reality, i.e. you go to Westworld and you are the only one there and you kill a bunch of people. That won't affect your native reality, and that doesn't affect anyone in it. And I don't believe
you believe that does not exist.
I believe that doesn't exist. But if you were to put it in a position where I'm in a shared world with 50 people and then I go steal from someone, that might not be in my native reality, but that is affecting someone. That I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that. That's actually a great example. Like I think we are getting to a point with the meta and virtual realities where we will reach a point where there are direct consequences in the quote unquote real world for your actions that are done. And I was looking it up, and Forbes actually posted an article discussing policing in the metaverse. And they're starting to look at theft, crime, financial crimes in the metaverse. Like obviously, if you steal from someone, but in the metaverse, actually fraud in a virtual reality sense. And they're soon training police forces and adding to their constitutional whatever laws that they will soon police all these activities in a virtual setting.
And that matters because it's affecting something in the
100%.
real
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
It is, whether it's financially or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if no one else has anything to add, I think that just about covers it. I mean, thanks to everyone listening to the first episode of the Shared Dreams podcast. We look forward to showing you the next one.
Yeah.